it's like, you can't really, you can't say that because you met 4 or 5 dudes in the hood, you know what I'm saying, that are into weeds, or whether it be in the business world or whatever, that reflects the mentality of all brothers. Because every brother can see a sister with a natural and be like, wow. You know what I'm saying? You might have one dude or two that's like, oh, I don't like her hair, whatever. But since when did that minority reflect, you know what I'm saying, what it is that you did with yourself? There's a certain love you got to have for yourself to say, I'm not comfortable doing this anymore. I'm not comfortable with the image that I'm reflecting anymore. It doesn't work for me. And then you ask them, like, well, you really attracting what it is that you want to attract with that weave? Are you attracting what you really want to attract with the perm? Because really it sounds, most of them, they're really attracting people who are not really up to par anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you might attract a different type of person if you are concentrating or focusing on a different type of image for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you got to wear dashikis, and you ain't got to wear dashikis and flip-flops every day. You know what I'm saying? If that's not what you choose to do, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes it's just as simple as switching up your image to attract what it is that you feel like could, compliment you.
We're waging war against the image of the beast. I mean, like, brothers is guilty, sisters is guilty. You know what I mean? It's like that was the whole plan. To have everybody worship the beast, and it came to pass. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? All we can do is set an example by how we live. Because people are going to look at what you do. They're not going to really worry about what you're saying. But actions speak louder than words. It's very basic. And it's like everybody, man, just stop worshiping the image of the beast, and maybe our sisters will like follow the lead.
And the sad part about it is you have a lot of them out there who are looking to do. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, we know that we get further as a race, you know what I'm saying, by exalting them. But you got a lot of brothers, I'm going to just be real. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a lot of brothers out there that ain't really ready for that. You know what I'm saying? Even I'm talking more so in the conscious community than anything. You know what I'm saying? You have, like, these different religions like Yoruba, you know what I'm saying, Ifa, you know what I'm saying? And they talk about, matriarchal societies and stuff like that. But when you get inside the society itself, it's very male-dominated. You know what I'm saying? They talk it as far as on a spiritual level, but when it comes to actually physically living, having a woman be in control, you know what I'm saying, and being in a situation where she can make decisions like how we used to do, brothers ain't really ready to put them in that position. You know what I'm saying? Like Baba says, you know what I'm saying, put the woman first, you know what I'm saying, put them in the forefront. You know what I'm saying? And, a lot of brothers they're like, yeah, that sounds good, you know what I mean? But ultimately there's a certain level of trust that you got to have in your mate. And that doesn't mean that just because a woman is a woman means that she's fit to rule. You know what I'm saying? But, but still, you know what I mean, there comes a point in time where we as men have to start realizing that a lot of the subjugation that women go through is based on our own insecurities. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that we, go ahead.
Law of attraction, I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta be sons, man. Nothing can live without the sun, man. Nothing can live without.
It's hard.
Rahul.
I think it's this Wepwawet, by the way. I'm just listening to y'all bill. It's beautiful. At this point, I think that a lot of it has to do with when the mitochondrial DNA doctrine came out, that information came out, a lot of the sisters wasn't really honed and really trained to really accept what was being said. Because you had a period of time where in the early turn of the century, you had our black leaders will come with a patriarchal thought pattern. Not so much really patriarchal, but the man was the leader. So we was trained over a period of time because of seeing alpha males such as Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Clarence 18X, and my father. When they came out, we was seeing an image that we could see. So we were already grooming ourselves by what they did to be leaders. So we was already in that situation. And so a lot of the sisters now, they don't have a template. So when you give them that information, they have to have a situation where they're being trained. And I think that a lot of it is first of all, the Eastern Star information was needed to get them back to a virtuous thought pattern. And a lot of sisters, as well as men had the thought pattern, well, I'm in AAO, I ain't got to go to that. And so you get that thought pattern, well, I don't need that. So I don't got to go to that. I'm in AAO. So I don't need to get no Eastern Star. That's Christianity label. But a lot of that is really detrimental because every school had its purpose. You know, when you get into a situation where, okay, these schools were needed to groom us, so, or let's say the Eastern Star information, because you have a point in time where my sister Hagar was about to put out a book called The Lady That I Am, which was teaching women how to be gods. I mean, really, God, whatever you want, whatever name you want to use, God or goddess, to be able to, to be able to get up there and teach classes. I mean, being goddess is not necessarily only having to do with saying that I'm mitochondria and you came out of me and I'm the X and X chromosome, because after a while it becomes redundant if nothing is being applied to that principle. And if most of the sisters, every time you ask them, are you ready to teach, they say they don't know, why don't you know already? You've had 12 or 13 years to be ready to teach. You've had 12, 13 years of saying, okay, well, look, now it's time to put on what we've been putting on for so long. Now it's time for you to do it. It's time for you to put that same armor on, unless you're ready for me to teach you, unless you're ready for me to still lead. And we should never get to a point as men to stop leading. It should just be what is our general roles individually in a situation. It never should never get to a point where, okay, because a lot of us in the community get to a point where, okay, we're God now, or the sisters of God now, so we don't have to do anything no more. You know, now women are leading from an emotional standpoint of what they've been through in relationships, and you have men who are following and are now forgetting how to lead, and now they're being they're now not so much being emasculated through the media or through society, but they're emasculating themselves because they don't want any more responsibility. Just as the brother Sobek just said, that's a huge problem. And so I was telling a sister about 15 minutes ago, I said, we have a huge problem in our community because there are no roles anymore. The biggest thing that books like Purity and Neatness, and I think there's a popular arc available for that too, but it gives us what we're supposed to do and what our responsibilities are as different, males and females. And if we get back to that principle, there should be no problems. But that's our big problem is that, like he said, the sisters are seeing what the European and the beast structure is, what it is for us to follow, what it is for the woman, or what an African woman is supposed to be, but they're not giving them the whole story. They're not going to give them the whole story because it's based upon destroying our unit and our community. It's not meant for us to come back together because they don't want it that way. And so when they've been getting free handouts for years from the beast, since welfare, since child support, and all that's been going on for all this time, you don't have a situation where they trust us anymore. They look at us as maimed punks. So when you come across sisters now, even in the conscious community, a lot of them are running to matriarchal thought patterns. Nuwaupu is not even matriarchal. It's supposed to be equal. It's the ultimate equalizer. And that's one of the main principles of right knowledge is that Nuwaupu was what? The ultimate equalizer. It should never be a point where, okay, she takes lead and I just sit back and sit down and don't do nothing. No, if you have a companion in that house, y'all supposed to feed off of each other. It should never be to a point where, she takes over. But at the end of the day, the man should still take that lead. That doesn't necessarily mean that she is not goddess anymore. That doesn't necessarily mean she's not goddess. Because Pop still says to this day in updates, woman is still a reflection of man. He still says that. Man is still sun, woman is still the moon and earth. That doesn't take her out of who she is, and I think that's becoming a problem for a lot of sisters is they're seeing a lot of men now in the organization not being able to be leaders anymore and not being worthy of being a reflection of. That's the biggest problem. I think we have to have an overhaul. It's almost like we have to have classes of what man should be all over again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in. Yeah.
No, that's you hit it right on the head, because I remember in Brooklyn when they had a particular meeting, and they family meeting, and they were talking basically on the same topic as far as like your mates and you being a reflection of your mate and stuff like that. And I think Baba was basically saying that whatever this was a couple of years ago, maybe about 2 years ago or 3, and he was saying that basically whatever faults, like, you will be held responsible. You know what I'm saying? If your mate is doing things that they're not supposed to do, or this, that, and the third. And a lot of the women that was in the room, I'd seen them. They've been in long-term relationships, children. You think is, something solid and firm there. Some of these women was like, whoa. Like, I'm separating myself from him. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, whoa. Like, are you serious? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you started seeing another side come out. Like, a lot of women have, I think, stymied themselves in the form or in the sake or in the name of relationships, you know what I'm saying, and have put up with a lot of things from brothers, you know what I'm saying, that they probably shouldn't have put up with but for so long. You know what I'm saying? So you get to a point now where you factor in children, you factor in finances, you factor in all these things, and you start seeing the side of a person that you really don't want to see. But it's kind of like, well, what do I do now? I got 10, 15, 20 years in with this person. I really don't feel like going out there getting anybody new. You know what I'm saying? So I figure I might as well just stick it out and just deal with it. But I noticed from that point in time that a lot of sisters within the tribe are not really content with their choice of mate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And some of them will belittle, you know what I'm saying, when given the opportunity, and some of them, will basically just, suck salt. You know what I mean? And just deal with, whatever they're dealing with. And I don't really think it's really fully on them to be able to say, well, I'm gonna make you a better man. You know what I'm saying? Is that brother has to find it within himself to say, well, if I'm going to put you in a position to reflect me, my light got to be bright enough that when it hits you, it's still bright when it shines onto our children or anybody else. You know what I'm saying? And I think relationships and the choices that a lot of us have made in our choice of mate, you know what I'm saying, has really been a problem for us. You know what I'm saying? Because, there's a lot of brothers in this, you know what I'm saying, that I have issues with some brothers, you know what I'm saying, as far as like, their drive and as far as being in the world and what it is that they're going to do. Just being Nuwaubian doesn't mean that you don't have to go to school, or that you shouldn't want to go to school, or that you shouldn't want to, why can't you be a millionaire? Why can't you, you know what I'm saying, have all the wealth or the riches? I mean, the Bible's the example, and really we should be tripping over ourselves to be a fraction of what it is that he represented. I ain't never heard. I've read books about him having a job. You know what I'm saying? So that means that we've never seen him say, "All right, well, I can't go here today because I got to go punch a clock." We all do what we have to do, but the goal should be for us to get to a point where we can free up our time and be a better example. You know what I'm saying, of what it is that we know we should be. You know what I'm saying? And sisters, sometimes they can be very critical. And when the whole, the conjugal DNA thing came out, you saw a lot of attitudes and emotions come out that I think that a lot of sisters, hadn't really gotten a chance or an opportunity to express. You know what I'm saying? It's because now they felt like they had the backing or that they had the ground, they had firm enough ground to be able to stand on, to be able to say, well, you know what, nigga, you ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? And on a genetic level, I'm this, that, and the third, but inside, I've been feeling that you haven't been this, that, and you haven't been as strong as you should, because, I'm looking at the quality of life that you're willing to accept. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us, we settle. A lot of brothers settle. You have a lot of brothers that withdraw from society, withdraw from life. You know what I'm saying? And they use the doctrine as an excuse not to persevere, when really it should be the other way around. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's funny? Don't mean to interject, but what you basically just said, like, I actually apply the doctrine to my day-to-day. Like, I'm a contractor with full commission. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm selling, knocking doors every day for a living for the past 4 years. And by the way, Ali, this is Sean. I just wanted to let you know I was here. I logged in today. But,
I know what it is, man. I can tell your voice, man.
Hey, man, I just want to say what up. But anyway, like you said, man, you still have to be that supporter, or else you're going to lose faith in you as a God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not only that, sometimes, man, I don't recommend Facebook at all. I mean, I know that's something new of the new generation, but you know what I mean? How can you be an example when somebody else is constantly whispering into your girl's ear? I mean, like,
exactly.
I just don't support it. You know, it's things like that can actually hurt a relationship. You know,
yeah.
So I mean, it all depends on your morals. You know.
Right. Yeah. It's the social media itself. You know, at this point, I use it just for a vehicle. I just use it for a vehicle of knowledge now. I don't use it to be sitting up here with my, my chest poked out, taking a picture of myself with my shirt on. I mean, it's like that's what it's really become. It's just a attention whore basis. It has nothing to do with with what you're trying to do with networking on a real level and knowledge. That's really what I use it for. I don't use it for nothing else unless I'm communicating with family. But no, that's I realize if I'll give you an example. I might be at school in a line at financial aid, and I might be reading a book on how man to be a better man, and you got brothers in back of me like eavesdropping on the book. Because, this is a young dude, and he's like, can I read it? Yeah, men that don't know how to be men no more. They've forgotten. And this is not so much just a Nuwaupuan situation. This is just within our own tribe as a people. I mean, it's starting to affect, because like you're saying, you have brothers and sisters that have kids. So this is no longer just affecting two people. It's affecting the kids, and you're seeing a situation where we're losing our families. The spell of ignorance is gone, but it's almost like it became mental anarchy. There was no balancement, because a lot of people that left that spell didn't have anything that they were supposed to run to, which is supposed to be us, because we gave them equality, we gave them knowledge of self, we gave them understanding, but they didn't run. For whatever reason, they didn't come to where we were, but we were available, but they didn't, but we're still available for that, because our information is supposed to give them what they're supposed to do. Social media, man, that shit got to get cut off to a big extent. I completely agree with that, because a lot of sisters are on there. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying unless it's used properly, like how you are.
Yeah, unless you're using it for a specific purpose. Just I'm talking about on a female level, because you're seeing a lot of I'm seeing a lot of inhibitions coming out from women that are like older than I am. The Nuwaupuan sisters is just sitting around playing attention games all day. Nothing to do with knowledge. You're not trying to elevate yourself. It's just, me. Hey, look at me. And it has to get to an ending. That has to get to a point where the man got to step in and be like, yo, get offline, man. That's not helping us, and it's not helping you. Because I remember about 5 or 6 years ago when the NEB order was established, the main thing my father wanted to do was implement more female teachers. It'll be either 2 men, 1 female, 2 females, 1 male. And it was very important, because sisters needed to see women on a higher level being able to lead, being able to teach. That was needed, but we needed more of that. And I don't know what happened between then and now, but that needed to come more. It just needed to come more, and I think that we have to be the ones as men to groom them, because we've had that role for so long. We got to groom them to just be better women, to just be a goddess. They don't even know. The only thing that they know is almost like children now. It's almost like when the Negroes first got knowledge of self, it was like kids. You have to literally gradually bring them up, like almost like from kindergarten. That's what we have to go through as on a man level, because realize when women come into knowledge of self, 9 times out of 10 she's coming through it through a male. She's not automatically getting it through a DNA explosion. Boom, I'm ready to get a book. It's either somebody she found, someone she's met, brought her into that information, and that wholeness is starting to wane away. But again, going back to what you're saying, a lot of men are just not real dudes no more. They're something else. They're not really trying to become providers. They're not really trying to be caretakers. They're not really trying to be the backbone. They're trying to be something else, and that's where it's starting to lose.
Yeah. I mean, you know, a lot of us, you know, we become, a lot of us come from situations. My father was, you know, in my life, but he wasn't all the way. He wasn't there all the time, you know. But even in his errors and his faults, there were certain things that I was showed, and I think I learned more from him in what not to do, you know, than what to do. And I was fortunate, you know what I'm saying, because I had a lot of brothers that I grew up with that had both parents in the household, and I received more love from my father, you know, being in and out of jail, you know what I'm saying, running around doing what he was doing. There was more love between me and him than there was with some of my friends whose fathers was there every day. You know what I'm saying? So there was it comes a point in time where, you know, you have to start really evaluating your life. You know what I'm saying, and where it is that you want to go as a man. And I think a lot of brothers aren't really ready to face themselves as far as their shortcomings, because a lot of dudes would have to realize you got a lot more X in you than Y. You know what I'm saying? And the one way that you can really see that is when you're dealing with women. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, you know, a lot of women nowadays are talking about, you know, the fact that a lot of these dudes is really soft. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much muscles they got, no matter how long your braids is, or how much, you know, you tend to do, or whatever it's supposed to make you a man, or, you know, whatever you're supposed to be when you really get down to the essence of it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these brothers out here really don't know. And I think it's also back what you said as far as form of an example. You know what I'm saying? So you have brothers who come into the doctrine, you know what I'm saying, and didn't really have that male schooling like that, or didn't come through a school where they kind of prepared them like that. So now you see Baba, and it's like, all right, well, now you're focalizing, you know what I'm saying, you're looking at a man doing what a man does. So kind of in a way, you kind of fall back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, and then you got dudes, then you have a lot of brothers that, you know, are womanizers or were womanizers when they came in. So they really hadn't honed in on being a full-time man. You concentrate on the aspect of being a man. You know what I'm saying? To the point where it's like, all right, now you get into a relationship, and now you have to be committed to somebody and be about your word, but you've spent the better part of your 20s, or, you know, your teens, 20s, and part of your 30s basically using women. You know what I'm saying? So really, that's still female too. You know what I'm saying? You're still not being a man about yours either, or even just getting down to the point of just admitting your faults. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's a lot of things that, you know, we can take, you know what I'm saying, from Baba, and there's a lot of things that we need to take from our own lives in particular. And I think that's where a lot of us lose sight of AEO and Order Melchizedek, when we're supposed to be reflecting on ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Looking at what it is, examining yourself. You know what I'm saying? Seeing what's going on with you, fine-tuning what's going on within yourself, because anybody can sit there and memorize and absorb this information or information. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes down to it, ultimately, it's how is it affecting your being? You know what I'm saying? Are you using it to progress and try to become a better person, or are you using it to basically stay the same and ego trip and grandstand on other people who might not know what you know? And you got a lot of brothers in here, you know what I'm saying, and all throughout the conscious community, but I'm talking about, you know, in Nuwaupu in particular, that want to use what they know in order to attract mates, you know what I'm saying, or try to make themselves, or try to cover up for their shortcomings. You know what I'm saying? Because, and then one thing I always, you know, I talk to some of my brothers, I'm like, you know, I don't really care, you know what I'm saying, how much you know. My thing is, how is it affecting your life?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The more you know, the better you're supposed to want, the more you're supposed to want to do. You know what I'm saying? And then you doing that, you attract people, you know what I'm saying, who are, you attract people who are of like minds, or who are aspiring to do the same things that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? I can't stand brothers that want to sit there and tell you about how you're falling off, or you're not in the doctrine because you're not doing what they do. But then, you know, you look at them, and it's like, yo, you in the same spot you was for the last 5-10 years. So you sitting here memorizing this shit like you Buddha. You know what I'm saying? What have you done in the last 5-10 years to show that you actually progressed? And I'm not saying it's necessarily all about a car or material wealth, but how else do you measure someone's growth if you don't know them personally, if you've seen them at one point and then you check them at another? Like if somebody met Baba, you know what I'm saying, when he was 18, you know what I'm saying, and he was still knowledgeable then and was still dropping jewels then, and then you see him at 40, you know what I'm saying? If he never opens up his mouth, if he never dropped a book, the least you could say is, well, that brother ain't working for nobody. You know what I'm saying? He's using whatever he knows to be able to get him to a point where he could do what he wants. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's, a lot of us have fallen short because we don't want to be in the world. You know what I'm saying? We want the benefits of the world without necessarily having to be in it and struggle and toil the way we're supposed to. Nobody ever said that we was all never going to work. There's a role for everybody out there to play. You know what I'm saying? But there's brothers out there who don't want to assume the natural role of being a provider. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And being able to take care of their responsibilities. And when a woman looks at that, she might not say nothing to you, to your face at the moment because she's your mate. She might not want to crush your ego, but she's telling her girlfriends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Other people will know. You know what I'm saying? And they'll see, and they'll be like, nah, you fronting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know?
Pop's didn't raise us to work no minimum wage, man. He raised us to be leaders. I mean, look at the organization, how it was built. It was built through teaching and busting that ass. I mean, if you wasn't out propagating, you wasn't out there selling, then, I mean, like, what good are you? You know what I'm saying? If you wasn't down there helping with the pyramids, I mean, you're just pretty much a waste of space. And I still apply that up to this day, regardless of my environment. I know I'm going to always have to bust my ass because my teacher busts his ass. You know what I mean? You gotta follow his example.
Yeah, I think that just to go, respect for that, is just to go into first off, not allowing for the woman's sake, not allowing others to teach her, meaning not allowing the media, not allowing her to be influenced by other people's emotions, other people's actions, of, like you said, of what she report to somebody else of what you're not doing. Automatically, you have to, as a man, already know that that's going to happen at some point if you're not taking care of your business.
Right.
If she doesn't go back to taking on that role, because a lot of women don't even know what it means to be a woman anymore. So that has to be the first foundation of her being a goddess. Is you have to learn how to be a sister, you have to learn how to be a woman, and going gradually to being a lady first. That's the first thing. You have to earn that role, and then if you're earning that role, because it's really not just about reading the black book and reading X and X chromosome, X and Y chromosome, and mitochondrial DNA and daughter cell. That's science. But if you close that book and you go back into your life right now, how are you any different than what you were, as you said, 15 years ago? What makes you a goddess? That's the first question, is what makes you a goddess first, and then before you graduate to that level as a woman, what makes you into a lady? What makes you virtuous? You understand? And if it's my responsibility to teach you to be that, then now it's up to you as a woman to be a listener. Because one of the biggest things now of just personal observations, women have stopped becoming great listeners. The biggest thing that they have learned to be over the years, that they once was over the years, is that they were the best listeners. If we fed information to them, they were able to bring it in and being able to spit it out to the seeds. That was a responsibility that they were supposed to have forever, and all the principles that we've learned, as a woman, you're supposed to be able to be educated, you're supposed to be able to teach as well as me teach, because the woman's the first teacher of those kids, and the first teacher of the woman is us as men, as gods. And so she has to realize, regardless of what other people are saying about what you should do, it should never leave the home base. Whatever job I'm not doing, all that talk that you're doing is a sign of disloyalty. And that needs to come back in more than anything else in the world is that loyalty principle. Before anything else, before you teach any classes, before you are the image of Acid and Ned Hood and all these other deities, these female deities, the Sekhmets of the world, before you are a scientist on that level, can you learn to keep a secret? Can you keep our business in our house? That's the first thing. And if you feel you're not worthy to do that, then you don't need to be with nobody. Because at the end of the day, if you put that out there, you're putting our business out for everyone to be able to project what we're doing wrong. And so it'll be doomed to fail because you're not trustworthy as a woman. That's the biggest thing. That's one of the biggest things that needs to go back into her mind, is to be able to do that right before we even go into a gradual level of all of her attributes to equal up to being a goddess.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I agree.
Man, important.
That's real. That hit home right there. I mean,
no, it's important. I mean, it's crazy because what Sobek was talking about, these matriarchal societies, they're not really doing anything to help her on her own. It's like if she's by herself, because God is God or goddess, male or female, God or goddess, it means at a certain point, one of the basic definitions of it is to be self-sufficient. And if you have to consistently go back to a certain person for that, how much of a goddess are you? You have to at some point, okay, what do I know that I can solve these problems on my own? You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't, I don't need as a man to have to follow you anywhere. The matriarchal thought pattern is nice for specific reasons. You know, it's nice for confidence. It's nice to know about what powers you do have on that next realm as a feminine principle. But on the next level, how is that helping you of making you become the leader over me? How is that helping the household? Show me how that's going to help us out. And if you can't show me how it's going to help us out of me following you, then that's not going to be healthy for you as a woman, as a sister, or as a goddess, as a lady. All those things it's not going to make a hill of beans if it's not helping you. It's not getting you to a next level, to graduate to another level as what you're trying to get to. You understand? We had to literally, going into Freemasonry, we had to literally unlearn a lot of things that made us very egotistical, and we had to relearn certain things. We had to stop bad habits. We had to see it not so much from a Christian standpoint, but just from a man standpoint, to just go back into discipline level, because that's what Ansar was about. You know, you had the thing is, what I've noticed is, I think post 97 or 98, you had a lot of brothers that, as we were saying, were not men. You know, if you're coming in through the Ansar level, 70s, 80s, early 90s, you're getting a foundation already of what it takes to be a man and take care of a household and be a provider. Even if you got to go out there and stand on your own, or you're going to be falling on your own when you're out there pedaling, that automatically makes you into a man, because you got to make it on your own. It's not you can't rely on the beast to give you his that piece of pie every 2 weeks. It's about, what am I going to do as a man to build a nation? That was a whole thought pattern in people's minds. It wasn't about starving. It's that if I'm holding down on mine, then I'm gonna build a situation based upon what I can bring, or I'm gonna be sitting down on my ass on mine, because as a man I couldn't go out there and build and do what I was supposed to do based upon the principles I was given about self. All the information about knowledge of self means nothing if it doesn't empower you to apply it. Like Sobek said, all that information means nothing if you're not applying the information to better yourself. None of us are supposed to be broke at all. None of us are supposed to be lapping up in houses. You have relationships now where both of them are living with somebody else, and that is a shame. Because that shouldn't even happen. You should be ashamed of yourself if you have to, at some point, even if let's say, for example, you move from wherever you're moving to, and you have to be there for a period of time. But some people get comfortable. Some men get comfortable, and some women get comfortable because that's all they know. You know, and you've gotten used to being mediocre in your life. You know, and Pops, you know, one of the main principles of AO. That we've learned was, do you want to be successful? You ask you that question, and you say yes. Of course, you're gonna say yes. You want to be whack. Next level is, what does it take to be? What are you doing to become successful? And that should have jump-started people's minds, man. The biggest thing that I've learned from my father is aside from anything else, was business. He knew how to make money, and he wanted people around him as men to teach them that. That's what it was all about. You know, it was about taking what we've learned and what we were supposed to be and take it to a whole different level. You know, as men first, and that going into Nuwaupu, where it was to build up that feminine principle within that woman, and continuously, gradually going into where we are now, into an even keel. We were supposed to all be at the same base and knowing our roles, but everything is now becoming scattered. And it's time to start rebuilding what we once had.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That is our main.
With that inspiration,
but,
I mean, like I went back to school because of Pops. You know what I mean? I went and got my business degree. You know what I mean? Only
right.
because it was the principle of it. You know? I mean, if I can go through these schools, I mean, college ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, you have to still be a survivor, man. Only the strong will survive. You know?
Right. Only the strong. If you was able to survive the schools of thought that we went through, you could survive anything in this world. Anything. There's nothing you can cry about. Nothing. Everything that I went through, it's nothing. It made you into more of a man. It made you into more of a man. The way, because reality is, women choose, men don't choose. We go out and we chase. But at the end of the day, women choose what is the most qualified for herself. That's reality. Everything now is being backwards. You're not having. I've seen people say, "Well, men choose too." No, men don't choose anything. They might look at a woman and think that she's attractive, so they go out and try to talk to her. But no, women choose. Women have been choosing. You know, we go out and we do our best to get her to choose us. You know, my father said that. He said that in classes, and he said that to me personally. No, women choose you for where she's trying to get to, even on a sexual level. The sexual situations that was actually created by men, the men order, M-I-N, not M-E-N, but M-I-N order of sex, that was created for us to know, or just to be implemented for us to know what the true purpose of sex is. You go back to the actual fact scroll, 2012 procession, towards the end of that scroll, he tells you what the true purpose of sex is to bring the woman through multiple orgasms to a next level of goddessship, to take her to that next level. If you're not bringing her to another level sexually, you're not doing your job as a man. It's not about you getting off and you going to sleep and snoring. That's not going to cut it. That's if you leaving her satisfied as well as creating problems. You have sexual energy from a woman that has to be satisfied, or you're going to have problems. You know, it's now going into the sun cycle now where she is now more and more sexually aggressive, and we have to be the ones to be able to tame it, contain it, and be able to sustain it as well as satisfy her. And if we're not satisfying that situation, again, we're going to have problems. You're going to always have problems. You have to rise up as a man on that level and bring her to where she's supposed to be. It's not all about self-gratification, and that's somewhat of a feminine level. And a man is that you all about self. It's selfish. You know, sex has now become a selfish situation. It's a selfish practice. I want to just get off and go and have, well, as long as I got mine, it don't matter about her. You hear men say that now. I hear men say that now at work. Like, what is wrong with you, man? Like, literally? Maybe that's the reason why you go from woman to woman. Because you can't keep any of them because you're not doing your job. That is our problems, is on a man level. We have to not do that. That is not going to cut it. If you're not, again, I hammer this home before we go somewhere else, is that you have to, as a man, regardless, you have to take it to that next level I don't care what book you have to find. You know, sex life as a Muslim is not even in circulation no more. But you need to find something to teach you on what you need to do sexually to bring her to that level. That is important. And that's a subject a lot of us don't even teach about or don't even talk about is sex. A lot of us, it's a taboo subject. We run around grinning as men. And if you know what to do, you need to do whatever you have to do to get her to that level on an orgasmic level. You have to do it. Period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is not a joke. I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm saying this to be real. You know. But no, go ahead. Go ahead, Sean.
No, just to be a little vulgar and shit. I mean, like, shit be straight splashing, yo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, but that's when a woman really orgasms. I mean, yo, you're gonna have a fucking puddle, like literally on the bed or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, I understand that, but she's actually releasing energy, you know.
Right.
I mean, like you have to satisfy him. I agree with that, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's not about ego anymore. The ego, at this point, because of scrolls he's put out, Father's put out, Mind Scroll, your ego was supposed to be controlled by you, you know, because ego is connected to emotions. And it's not about saying, okay, do my ego, okay, I've done my job, like I'm my hands on my hip like Superman. No, it's about realizing that, okay, I've done my job as a God. I've done what I'm supposed to do on that level. And whatever other level, I know that if I'm doing this, she's not going to choose nobody else. Because even if you're with this woman for 10, 15 years, there's always a possibility she's going to choose somebody else because of whatever you are doing or not doing. That's a reality. It needs to be implemented into our minds that that's real, that you don't never own any woman. She's going to choose somebody else based upon, again, what you're doing and what you're not doing. If you're not satisfying, in her mind, she has a right to choose somebody else. If you're acting on a punkish level and you're not being that provider, she's gonna look somewhere else. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the truth. That's supposed to make the man more humble on that level, that bring you to a humility to realize you ain't all that. You know, you got her. She's your trophy, but at the same time, what are you doing to keep that? What are you doing to keep that woman around? You know, it's really going back into the responsibility of man. The situation is going all the way back to the responsibility of man. What are we doing to keep the situation together, and what are we doing to be a reflection for this woman? The reflection thought pattern is now gone, and it needs to be re-energized and rejuvenated within us.
That's real.
Mm-hmm. That is a divine reality. Is just for what I see, and what I hear.
It's so basic, but yet people forget. You know.
Mm-hmm. It's basic. It's extremely basic, but it becomes so complex to a lot of men because, I mean, my first image of what I thought a man was just one of my high school football coaches, because he was just there as a man for me to talk to. You know, that I grew up out in the world. I didn't grow up in the community. I didn't move in the community until I was 18 years old, and then being around my father, then I knew, okay, this is another level of man. This is not just the Christian version of man and, you know, all that stuff, but he took it to another level. The images are gone. The whole thing is that the images are gone, and it's nothing. I don't see anything. My father has a patriarchal thought pattern. That's just how he is. You know, that's, for me, that's genetics. So the way I think is the way I think on a alpha male level. And a lot of men are losing that principle of an alpha male, of being able to be that she wants to revolve around. And that is becoming a problem, because we don't want to be what she revolves around. We want to be a person that's revolving around her, because you cannot, as a man, you cannot follow an entity that is over-emotional, because a lot of sisters now are over-emotional. Both people, male and female, have to be balanced in order for this to work. And a lot of sisters now are over-emotional, so it's not working. That is the problem. You can't lead through emotion. You have to lead through reasoning and common sense. If you don't know how to do that, and a lot of brothers now can't lead because they don't have both those principles. That is a problem. So we're losing a battle from what we see, as well as the feminization going on in our society as a race, because you have a lot of responsibility being gone, because men don't have to be men no more. The reality is, a man in his mind, there's no more gender. I can do what I want to do. I can wear what I want to wear. I can literally I can wear, dress, act, talk, and look like a woman. You know, because, you know, hey, you won't allow me to be a man. The beast won't allow us to be men. You know, we're constantly being locked up, in and out of jail, can't get education, can't get a job. They won't allow us to provide. We have to go through all these hula hoops hoops or whatever to even get to where we're trying to get to as men. And so when it comes down to the basic principle of being a man in a relationship, we don't know how. And when someone comes to you as to what you need to do, we don't want to do that anymore. Most men now are having kids at an extremely early age, so they're still kids and they're feminized. So they're carrying over these same feminine practices that's going on in the beast world into our world. The same thing that is allowing us to fall apart, we're still perpetuating. So what we see, our reality is on TV. Our reality is what we see in the media. And we have to let that part dissipate. We cannot allow what rap and what TV and cable define us. We have to, if you're going to watch or listen to that, it needs to be cut down to an extreme minimum, and you have to make sure that whatever energy that you're receiving is something that is healthy to you and your family. And people like to, and that's fine if you want to listen to certain type of rap artists. I keep it to certain people. Me, I keep it to a very, very chosen few. Very chosen few, and now I'm implementing more and more of a certain octave in my household, and a certain vibration that I want around myself, and that has to be something that she has to be able to take on. Even if you're bringing a woman into this, and she may not already be Nuwaupian, but at least she sees like, okay, look, this is whatever you're listening to, and you telling her this isn't something that's healthy for you as a woman. First, before I even go to Goddess, this isn't healthy for you. What the image of Nicki Minaj and all these other women, that is not healthy for you to look at. You understand what I'm saying? A woman walking on. Go ahead.
I have a question concerning that. Like, how can you let them know, but without them taking it as criticism? Because I actually go through that problem. I try to tune out certain images on TV and certain types of music, but she takes it personal. So I'm like,
yeah,
I gotta
make it comparative. You make it comparative. Like if you're, you don't even, what you do is that you feed her images that remind her of what glory was before we had to rely on them for any type of entertainment. Even if you're not going back to images of acid, hard, hard and all, not that far back. But just going back into images of women being goddesses on a musical level, whether it be drum patterns, whether it be on an African level, and if you're comparing that to a Nicki Minaj level where you're looking at foolishness, like look, this is what she's perpetuating, and this is the people that is responsible for her being a tool to take you away from what your natural responsibility and your natural image is. But this is what you were. You see this right here? You see this woman, this is the image of beauty. You see, every person believes, you believe in a higher power, and majority of a black woman is going to say, yeah, I do, of course. And if you believe in that higher power, you are the image of that higher power if you look like this. You see this African woman right here? She is the image of a higher power. that's about as much of a godship as you can get. You look whatever from images you keep feeding her, images of Nefertiti, just not even just that, because I'm giving you names. But if you're going online and you put in Africa, or put in African woman, or just deity, or or just female deity, and you're giving her, you're like, wow, she's beautiful. That's you. But that's not you over there. And you give her other images, Remy Ma, all the other names, the Love and Hip Hop, the Basketball Wives, all these other women that, number one, just to give her this, is that the main purpose of the beast is that they want to show black relationships not working, so that they can show that if it's an interracial situation, that might work for you. So the next level is to show her, like, look, this is the thing. You're feeding this machine here. They don't want relationships of us to succeed. They don't want to see you in a positive level. They want to see us in a negative level. You understand? And as long as you're feeding that situation, that is becoming a psychological problem for you. You understand? Nicki Minaj is not. What is she saying that's positive? What is she saying that's on a harmonious level? What is she saying that's helping you? It's not just. So this is fact. Let's keep it real. But if you compare her to a Lauryn Hill may not be doing a lot of music right now, but you're saying, what did she do that's positive, that she was uplifting her people? How can you? There is no comparison to this. She can only give so many defenses until after a while it's dead.
I'm glad I spoke with you today, because I'm not going to lie. I just started to, tolerate a lot of things, but until, somebody with that energy kind of, pointed it out, you know what, don't accept that. You know what I mean? You don't have to accept, even though there's a lot of evil dominating forces right now, we don't have to accept this shit.
Right.
And it's law of attraction. It's always going to be law of attraction at the end of the day,
Yeah, what was said earlier by you and So Beck, whatever you put out is what you're going to attract. And whatever is inside of you, she's going to feed off of that. If you're a wishy-washy person, if you're up and down somewhere, if you're unsure of who you are as a person, she's going to feed that same energy. It's going to carry over to her. But if you're or if you're indecisive, but if you're decisive, if you're like, all right, we're going to get up, we're going to do this, boom, boom, boom. Watch. She's going to follow that. Because part of it, of trying to get her out of the Nicki Minaj thought pattern, is what you're doing. It's getting her away from that, because to gain power over someone is and away from whatever is influencing them, is you take them further and further away from it as you possibly can. And you put them more into a...
feel guilty, but when you set an example, you got to kind of make them feel guilty. I got it.
Because what are you doing? It's like if you're going more and more to African festivals and going to different African stores, and you're doing things based upon who you are, she either falls in line or she goes somewhere else. Because who she is going to come out at some point anyway. If this is, look, you don't have to say it, but your actions, because women are nonverbal creatures, so whatever you're doing is going to speak to her, and so she has to make a decision with her else. She's going to either follow your lead or she's going to go somewhere else, plain and simple. And if she can't deal with what you're trying to do, then she don't either really deal with you anyway. That's when it's going to come down to that, because she's going to have, you're making her make a choice. If you're on point with yourself, and she's going to come to you and be like, one day she might come to your place, and you might be reading it. She's going to be like, what are you reading? Oh, such and such book. And she's like, what is that about? Then that's when you can open up that channel of energy to her and that channel of information to her. Because it's not just about, throwing Right Now's books at her all day, because we can do that all day. That don't mean she done broke the spell. Right. That doesn't mean anything. I can take what is Nuwaupu and make her read it. That doesn't necessarily mean that it changed her life. That person has to want to see that. And the first thing that they're going to see it in you. But if you're falling to the wayside and going back into their world and what they perpetuate to us, then they're going to think it's okay. And that's important. I had to learn that over the years. I don't, any sister I deal with, I don't automatically say, okay, you're going to read this, we're going to look at this, and that's going to be it. No, I just automatically, what I do is what I do. And they either fall in line or they go somewhere else. You understand what I'm saying? You whatever you're doing, like if they're coming into your place and you're watching movies like Hidden Colors or movies like 500 Years Later, or you're watching Elohim and New Covenant, Spook Who Sat by the Door, this is who you are, and you're giving them a projection of who you are. But if they can't handle that projection, then they don't need to be with you in the first place. They need to be with whoever else that they're aligning themselves with, but it's not going to be you. You understand? That's important. It ain't about, but yeah, it's not about convincing, because you ain't got to convince nobody to nothing. They need to accept the fact that if they choosing you, then they choosing you for who you are. It's not about what you can do for her. It's who you are as a man. You know, and that's it. That's it. It's all about action. It ain't about telling her we gonna watch this. She gonna be like, well, you know, because you can come in the house, or she comes in the house and you turn on Elohim and she go, what you watching? I'm watching this right here, and she gonna ask you questions. You just gotta be ready to answer them, and that's gonna start that chain reaction. But if she's gonna find a way, if you're wishy-washy, eventually she's going to get you to start following her, because it's going to be unstable. In her mind, you're unstable because you can't make up your mind whether you're conscious or you all over the place. That's a lot of brothers like that now.
That's real.
Mhm.
I feel you on that too. You know.
Yeah.
It has to be consistent. You can't be like,
consistent.
Okay, today I'm watching this. Next minute I'm like listening to some crazy shit. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah,
you know?
That's like example. I'm giving a clear basic example of consistency. These classes go on every week. This is every week, same time, same channel, and that's whatever you're doing that is positive and on a progressive level. Make it consistent. One of the things that I do as a man is that I create 3 things every day. I just create errands for me to do. Even if they're not that important, they're important to me because it gives me something to do. I'm not just sitting around the house, or things to learn. What in the doctrine do I not know today? And if I don't, or that I'm weak on, then it's time for me to consistently learn that every day. Or just to be consistent, not just to be, because you have some brothers I've noticed that they're either extremely consistent, and the most extremely consistent person I've ever met in my life has been my father. Then you got on the next level down, every once in a while they might go out and hustle. Every once in a while they might go out and read a book. Every once in a while they might go out and do something in the community. So they just sometimes niggas. Then you got niggas who don't do nothing. You know, they are led by their women, and they don't mind not doing anything at all. They claim a conscious level of information, but none of it makes any sense to them. They're consistent skeptics of everything, and they only use the information to debate or to criticize somebody. And at the end of the day, they don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. That's where a lot of our brothers are heading toward. They're heading towards that bottom 3. And you should want to reach for the most consistent level as possible. Consistency creates success in your life, man. Because people have to know you for what you do. You can't be like, well, you know, every once in a while we teach this class, and you know, you can come on there if you feel like it. You know, I don't know. You can go. But no, when you're consistent, you're consistently advertising something, you're consistently hustling, you're consistently going out, and you're making your business felt. Women will see that, and they'll gravitate towards something like that. And if they're not gravitating, then they ain't the woman you want anyway. Why would you want an inconsistent man as a woman? Period. That's not going to work. You want somebody that's, as a woman wants somebody that she can be like, wow, this man's going somewhere. That's what they want to see. Because if they don't want to see that, again, that's not what we want in our world, in our circle. You know, we're trying to bring women up to a divine order. And if they're not willing to see that, then you need to find someone else who is willing to listen and allow you to take them to that next level. You know? This is important, man. This is important. Class went on a little longer than usual, but I'm glad we got a lot talked about and a lot accomplished. Did anyone have any more questions before we end it? We want to do 3 questions. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to the affirmation and then just take it from there. Abdul ko ashatat wa bazum fargon shapapa'at. Anuki daho pa ashak shapapa'at. Wu kalo habab kalun dahoni. Anuki kasum on shapapa'at. Bu papa'at kalun kasam on shulni. Anuki wahu ama papa'at. Wu papa'at kalun wahu amani. Nukadur najo ama kasam on shapapa'at. Wu habub ama sakhas nuk kadur kawun kalud dik nuk rajub dahu papa'at. Talama rajabni kalun bago dahu papa'at. Anuki yabu bi nafusni. Papa'at kalun anuki. Papa'at kadur nuk kadur. Papa'at faul nuk faul. Alright. Next Wednesday as well. Again, same situation, different subject. All right, family. Wadu.